quote here I've got written out is from Jen from Soul Spring Arts: transform trauma into possibility. What a great quote there you have.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of expressive arts, right? Is that it allows us to see these possibilities that we just otherwise wouldn't be able to see if we were just, we keep going down that same path over and over. Not only do you get to the same destination, but you actually keep reinforcing that pathway. And if you think of it like a neural pathway, those paths in our brains get stronger and stronger the more we feed the same narratives, right? So the arts allows us to veer off into the woods on one of those less trodden paths, right?
Yeah, ideas for where we go today. You're going to give us a little sampling of what an actual session might be like, huh?
Yeah, no pressure, no great ideas. We're just going to explore together. We're going to go on a little journey and see where it takes us.
Love it. Journeys are good. So if people have your art supplies, get ready to play a little bit and, experiment.
All right, so I'd love to just invite everyone to close their eyes. We're going to start with a 1 or 2 minute mindfulness just to get into the space and get into our bodies, which is the best place to start when we're doing anything expressive, from deep connection within our bodies. So finding a way to get comfortable wherever it is that you're sitting or lying down, and bringing your awareness to your breath, knowing that you don't need to change it in any way, and it's actually best if you just noticing where it's coming into your body, whether that's through your mouth or your nose, and noticing where it's coming out, and seeing if you can find a little bit of a rhythm with your breath. And if that rhythm can invite you to a gentle movement, be a little sway, tap, just something small to signal to your brain and to your body that you're kind of joining in on the party here. And allowing yourself to really sink into that. Reflecting on when you take that breath in, what it's bringing in for you. We've actually been created in the most miraculous of ways, such that with every breath that we take, all day, every day, we're being given a gift of life. So this oxygen that's coming in, that's fueling our bodies and traveling to every organ, every cell, every corner of our body, is bringing something into us to sustain life. So as you take in the next couple of breaths, allowing yourself to be really present with the miracle that you're a part of, breath, and allowing that breath to kind of just wiggle its way to every corner of your body, and to nourish every part of you that needs a little bit of enlivening today. And then bringing your awareness to this beautiful part of the process of the exhale, where your body so naturally, without any thought, releases that which doesn't serve it. Right? Carbon dioxide, it goes out and it serves another purpose out in the world. But for your body, it doesn't need it, so you let it go. And so on your next couple of exhales, just really being present with this miracle that you're a part of releasing that which doesn't serve you. And noticing what's happening in your body now that it's holding that which does serve it, and it's let go of what it doesn't need in this moment. And on that same note, I'd love to invite you to put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, really coming in close to yourself, coming home to yourself for a moment, and doing a quick scan to say to yourself, what do I need in this moment? And I would really invite everybody who's watching to ask yourself out loud, what do I need in this moment? And just listen for the answer. Try not to overthink it. Try not to start searching. If you just sink into your body, it will show up. And it could be anything. It could be a little bit of self-care, some relaxation, some kindness. It could be a cup of tea. It could be a pair of fuzzy socks. It could be anything. Stay open to the possibility that you might need anything in this moment. And it's okay to kind of ask yourself, what do I need? And then on the next couple of inhales, I'm going to invite you to bring that in with you. Imagining that you have roots that are kind of pouring out of the bottom of your feet, if your feet are on the ground, or your bottom, if it's touching a chair, and it's going through that chair, or your couch, or your bed, through the floor of your home, through the building, into the earth. And that with your next exhale, you're going to bring in whatever it is that you need. And really savoring it. Really being with the fact that you just made a choice to take care of yourself and gift yourself with something that you really need in this moment. So keep bringing it in with those inhales. Noticing what's happening in your body as you're tending to your needs. Noticing what's happening in your body when you actually say to yourself, my needs matter. and noticing what's happening in your body when you say, I have agency. I have the ability to choose from the menu of life, to give myself what I need to take care of myself. So important. And really holding on to that thing that you've now gifted yourself with. And now for the last part of our mindfulness, we're just going to bring our awareness gently, very, very gently. Trauma-informed work is about going slowly and gently and tuning in. If it doesn't feel right, adapting. Change it so that it doesn't flood you, it doesn't activate the nervous system, but that you can still find a way to participate. Bringing your awareness in your body, in your being, to something that you've been holding on to that just doesn't serve you. Perhaps it's a thought, an emotion, perhaps it's something related to a relationship that you're in. Maybe it's a way that you're perceiving yourself or a situation. It could be that you just didn't shower today and you really want to go wash your hair, right? It could be anything. Something that you just want to let go of. And on your next exhale, let's really let it go. I'm going to challenge you to imagine that you have breath like Superman. And so when you let it go the next couple of times, you're really going to blow it out like this. And you're going to blow so much to the point where you actually feel an emptiness for a split second. Like there's nothing there. Your air is all gone. Clear it all out. Finding that gentle rhythm again in your body, holding yourself in whatever way feels right for you. And with gentle inquiry, coming into yourself and exploring this new state of having chosen to gift yourself with something, the state that you're in from having chosen to release something, bearing in mind that some of the things that we're holding on to that we want to release can be really heavy, and so it might take several rounds of releasing to get rid of it. It might take days, but did you release it like 1% today? Do you feel a little bit lighter? And if you do, where do you feel that? Maybe there's some tension that's gone down. Maybe there's been a release in your shoulders or your neck. Maybe you're noticing yourself just kind of really sitting into your chair a little bit more freely without holding yourself. Every one of these observations actually matters on our journey to healing. And when I say healing, it's not about fixing something that's broken or something that's wrong. It's about tuning in, listening to our bodies, listening to our hearts, our souls, our minds, our entire beings, integrating, and then tending. It's a journey of tending, not fixing. So as we come out of our mindfulness, I'm going to invite you to just wiggle your fingers a little bit, just get a little bit more broad of motion, because we're just going to kind of bring ourselves back here into the space. We stretch your legs out. Oh, that feels good. Rotate the ankles. We just take up some space and some movement so that we can come and be back together now. And so, Jen, if you're cool, I would love to connect with you and ask you how that was for you, what came up for you, anything that surprised you.
The deep breath always surprises me at how much relaxes my body when I finally take that really deep breath, no matter what's going on. Like, even if I think I'm relaxed, oh, yeah, there is another layer to go there. And then that question of what do I need right now? I don't actually know. It seems like a simple question, but I don't know, I guess I just found myself focusing on the flower in front of me and just enjoying the different details of texture that are in there and going, just maybe needing some silence or some stillness.
That is such a beautiful kind of point of self-awareness. I have so many clients that will often say, I just don't know. And that I don't know can be for a myriad of reasons. It could be because there's some numbing going on and so the connection's not there. It could just simply be, a moment of, wow, this is all new and I'm not sure, and look at all these choices, right? Like even if I look at my desk right now, I'm like, oh, what do I want? I have no idea. I just want to play with everything. Right? I can't pinpoint it. And so how do we then embrace that uncertainty, the unknowing? And you did it. You looked up, you saw a flower, and you connected. You found a point of connection. And that's really where we start. So I'm curious right now if there's anything. So you weren't sure what you brought in. When you were bringing in through the inhale, was there anything that you brought in? Was there anything in your consciousness at that moment when you brought in the inhale?
There wasn't anything specific,
okay.
No.
Okay, and what about the exhale?
I think, well, it might have been just the releasing of the tension. I did find myself sitting down a little differently in my chair.
Okay. Any idea where that might be coming from?
Oh, should I count the ways? So many things that
I hear
so
you.
many irons in the fire.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense. And so in my sessions, we talk a lot. So you know that I work with mostly people who have trauma, right? And I'll take just a moment, if that's okay, just to kind of give you my spin on trauma. So I'm a trauma survivor. Severe complex PTSD was my diagnosis, to the point of actual dissociation, like non-functionality. And I don't share that openly enough. I think it's because I've sort of, when you're trying to build yourself and you're trying to build that credibility, there's this little voice that says, be perfect. And although we can't be, then it says, well, be as close to perfect as you can be.
Yeah.
Right. But there's something really special about saying, like, I've been there. And I've been like in the lowest of the low. And so I get trauma. I get it at a deep body level. And so based on my own personal lived experience, in addition to the research that I've been doing for years and also my training as a therapist, trauma really boils down to capacity. We experience something in life that we don't have the capacity to hold or to be with. It overwhelms us. We feel helpless. And that really is the moment when the trauma sets in. And so that's why, for example, you could have two people who grew up in the exact same house, experience the exact same dynamic within the family, maybe exposed to the same types of attachment issues with primary caregivers, and yet one person goes on to have this really happy, successful life. They're doing their thing. You would never know, right? And then another person just shuts down completely, and they do not have the capacity. And that's what it boils down to, right? It's not about what happened. It's about how you process what happens, right? And so when I do this work, we kind of just start really, really small. I have clients who actually come to me who didn't even know when they started that they had trauma. And, they'll come and say, I'm just feeling really lethargic or tired. Tired's a big one. So I've been researching a lot on this manifestation or this presentation of tiredness, in that it's a great mask for all sorts of ailments and issues, when really the underlying issue is that there's a wound that's there. And we talked, while we were connecting about this live, about really tending to those wounds. Well, how do we do that if we don't even know the wound is there, right? And so maybe we could hop into a little bit of art to kind of explore, how do we do that? How do we gently come into our bodies and start to kind of tease apart a little bit, right? And I can't stress enough the importance of the gentleness and the pace. I am so against going into therapy where a therapist says to a client, tell me all about your trauma. Tell me, did this happen and did that happen and did you? And then the person's flooded, everything shuts down, the nervous system's activated, they're outside of the window of tolerance, and boom. There is zero opportunity for any learning, any healing, or growth, because we've just activated the person, right? So the work that we're going to do is going to be really, really gentle. So I would love for you to, are you okay with being my little volunteer today?
Sure.
So if you're willing to share with me something that, you've been dealing with, it doesn't have to be big. You can pick something on a scale of 1 to 10 that's out of 4 or 5. We don't want to go deep here, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but something that's, that's kind of you've been sitting with. Anything.
Just something that's been weighing on me?
Yeah, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. It could have been something in the past even, but let's just pick something to work with.
Sure. Can it be as generic kind of as piles, like trying to sort through the piles of what I need to do? Or
Absolutely. And I'm glad you asked that question. As an expressive arts therapist, one of the first things that we learned in our training was the client is the expert. They are the expert of their lives, of their stories, of everything to do with their healing journey. I, as the therapist, am the companion. So it's actually anything goes. Whatever you decide you want to work with, let's do that. Right? You're the expert. So, okay, let's do it. Piles of stuff. Can you give me an example of a pile?
Sure. Paperwork is a pile. The different art supplies and projects and ideas in my mind that I want to do. And
it's huge. It's huge. And, as soon as you said that, I thought laundry. And let me tell you, full transparency. Full transparency to everyone who's watching. I cannot handle. I just leave it. And people say, do you fold it when it's hot, or do you wait till it's cool? Girlfriend, I don't fold it.
We just got a comment of #TeamNeverFold.
I love it. Reach out to me. We need to explore that. I love it. So piles. Let's work with piles. So
piles.
I'm going to bring you into your body for a second and do whatever you need to come into your body for just a quick second. I like to put hand on heart, hand on belly, and just move a little bit to signal to my body, okay, I'm coming home. I'm coming in. We have a little bit of a dialogue that goes on. So whatever it is, whatever comes to you with the piles, right? As they're building, and they're everywhere, and they're different things. It could be receipts that need for bookkeeping.
Mm.
Like you said, even piles in our head around ideas or lives you want to run, right? Like they're just big, right? And so locating that in your body, it's crazy. Just as I'm describing it, I can feel it. My body just immediately just felt that in my chest. So where in your body are you feeling that?
I was actually just going to say my chest just got tight. It's like I couldn't take a full breath anymore.
Okay.
Like I was breathing, but it wasn't full like it was a couple minutes ago.
All right. And so, like, be with that. Be with it and say, hi, tightness. I'm here. I hear you. I see you. All right. There's a part of you right now that is actually voicing itself. And so we want to acknowledge it and we want to welcome it into the space. And let's do a little exploration. So right now, that tightness on a scale of 1 to 10, where's it at, Jen?
Let's go with like a 4.
Okay, cool. And can we like dip into it, maybe put your fingers in it, mold it as if you've got a piece of clay, like really play with it, poke at it, explore it. Can you feel its texture? Is it smooth? Is it jagged? Tell me a bit about this tightness.
It pushes in from the back.
Does it have a color? If you had to just quickly pick a color that kind of pops up the minute you kind of dig in a bit, what color would you pick?
I think if I had to pick it'd probably be like gray or like a dark steely.
Okay.
Kind of color.
And how about shape?
Probably it's round and smooth, I think.
Round and smooth. So I'm going to invite you to reach for whatever color it is that's kind of connecting you to that feeling. And let's bring that onto a piece of paper in whatever way feels right. Really staying with the breath in the body so that you can bring it out. And follow the image. If you want to change colors or add color, let's do that.
Yeah.
Reminder to anyone who's watching that the beauty also of art therapy or expressive arts therapy is you don't need anything fancy. I've had clients who didn't have any art supplies at all and they use their makeup or they've used vegetables like beetroot, anything. I once had a client who was really not in a safe situation at home but really wanted to attend, and so all she could manage to grab was a piece of paper and 2 pens. And she did the most profound process work with just these 2 pens and sitting in her car kind of in a dark corner. It was really a reminder to me of the gift of this work and how we can work within restriction. Okay. That's interesting. You've got a circle going there as well.
Yeah.
And some dots. That's interesting.
It's bleed through from another page and I open up and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to use this. I like the shapes that are in there.
Okay, I really like that. I like that a lot. So I'm wondering if you can take a moment and just take your hands and just kind of place them on the image.
Okay.
Maybe tracing some of the lines, just kind of getting to know it in a gentle way. Is that image stuck inside a journal right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I usually ask people, and I didn't say this at the beginning, that's totally okay, but to work outside of a journal because it allows you to do things like roll it up and look at it from different angles.
Okay. I can turn it at least.
Yeah, turning it, bending it a little bit, bending the shapes. And what's really cool is if you kind of cover a part of it and look at it with part of it covered, you start to see different elements of it, right? Let's see. Where not all of the image is showing. And so you see it from a different perspective. And so if there's a little bit of, discomfort with the image for whatever reason or feelings that are coming up, you can work with maybe half of it. Maybe it's that circle, a client might find that circle's a bit triggering, right? So covering it up, what happens if you only see that part of the circle, right? And so then coming to the image, and I'd love for you to just say hello to your image. Out loud so that I could hear you.
Oh, out loud. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello.
We're going full in.
All right.
And ask it how it's doing today. And let it respond out loud, starting with your name, and say Jen, and let it respond to you.
That's really hard to do on the spot. Sorry.
And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. And we don't necessarily have to go through it. I can more just kind of guide through it if you're feeling like, whoa, this is, I wasn't expecting to talk to my image here.
Yeah, and maybe let's do that, and then
Yeah,
I'll write the questions down, because I usually I seem to do better like when I write the answers
100%,
out.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's really just an open dialogue with the image. So I'll usually start the client off with, how are you doing? Asking the image, and so my image might say, hey, Jen, I'm okay. Really appreciating having the space to just kind of take up space. And I'll be like, I'm really glad you feel that way. And I would say, like, what do you need in this moment? Because I've already practiced this whole what do you need asking myself, but now I want to invite the image to share, and the image might say, I don't know, I need to be seen, and I need to not feel so constricted. And so I might say, so what might help you not feel so constricted, right? And then the image might say, well, I need to not feel like I'm all there together. So I then might have an impulse to start making space here, right? I'm finding that the core of this circle is actually really, to me, what is speaking to me. And so giving it the ability to move outside of itself. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is where the process starts, and it actually is lengthy, and we're not going to have, obviously, the time to go into it. And when I said to you, let's do a mini session, I kind of chuckled to myself thinking, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Time management is not my forte, but all of a sudden I move it and I can see a face. Do you see a face?
Yeah.
I see just two eyes and a little bit of a mouth there, and I'm just really, like, intrigued by this. And so the next part of this is that I might start to play with some words. And I want to tell you something generally exciting. I'm pretty positive it was you that I indicated that I was struggling with having these magnetic pieces because I couldn't put them, I didn't want to glue them down. Was it you who suggested that I cut out words, or that I use words like from magazines and stuff?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yes. And so you really inspired me, and I didn't thank you for this, but I actually went and pulled out my word bin.
Oh, awesome.
And I have been using this since you suggested that, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. So what I would do with this image is I would probably make some space, and I would start pulling out words to see what pops up for me. So let's, an avalanche of words there. And just taking a couple of minutes to see what is speaking to me. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Do you see what that says? It says be, 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 be.
Oh, wow.
And look at the next word that pops up to me. The next word that's popping up is answers. Ooh. And my heart is getting, I'm going to cry now, and we're not going to ugly cry on this live. But this is the process, right? This is where you just start to get into it, and you're not, okay, next one. Next word that's popping up, Jen. It says real.
Oh my goodness.
Be, real. And so you can see how this process starts to go, where you just let go. I cut these words out over the past few years. I've been collecting words, and so I had forgotten about this gift. I think there was also something about having all the words look the same and be uniform that was comforting to me. And reaching back for this bin felt like a risk. It felt like I had to trust a bit more. I had to be okay with imperfections. I had to be okay with the fact that, like, things are bent and wonky, and right, they're not perfect. And I was really appreciating working with this perfection of these perfectly cut pieces until you reminded me that I could try something else, right? And so that's this part of the process, is like exploring words. You know, what's interesting is that this word keeps popping out at me. I keep ignoring it. I actually flicked it back into the pile. It says experienced. I don't know what it means, but I think I'm going to give her a mouth with the word experienced. I don't know why.
So Jen, let me pause for a second here.
Yeah.
We're getting a couple comments about physical body pain being triggered, like knots in stomachs, compression, hard to focus, like trying multiple times and still have like feeling it hard to come back into the moment and focus.
Right.
And then the body pain that's coming about.
So body pain is such a beautiful gift, and I say that not in a way to, like, I'm not all about this toxic positivity or to bypass, quite the contrary. And why I think it's a gift is it's that our bodies are kind of sending us signals to say, hey, I need something. They might even be a messenger on behalf of other parts of us, like our psyche, our spirituality, whatever it may be. And so the best way to deal with body pain is actually to come into it. So could we ask that person, could they give us an example of where the body pain might be? Like one example of one pain?
Yeah, somebody had said knots in the stomach.
Right. So really even just taking your hands and putting them on your belly and trying even an action, like you've got good intel there, knots in the stomach. What's it like to untie knots? How do you do that, right? Imagine you have a big ball of yarn and it's knotted. Could you start just gently unknotting in your belly, right? Again, we're not trying to fix. We're trying to get to know. We're trying to understand. And it might take, days, weeks, months to start to have those symptoms go down. But I guarantee the minute you start to notice and then start to actually approach yourself with compassion and kindness and start to tend, the severity of those symptoms will start to go down. No question about it. I will put in a caveat there. If you are in a situation that is abusive, if you are currently living in your trauma triggers, this doesn't necessarily apply. You actually need to be actively working with someone who can help you manage that. If you are not living in an abusive situation or with active triggers, these techniques, so the somatic work, the polyvagal work, the internal family systems work, like these are all modalities of therapy that I bring into my expressive arts. They can be super, super helpful. But to answer that person's question, just coming into the body from the outside and just start to tend. If teasing apart the knots feels a little bit too big, just a gentle rub, a little tap. Even saying, hey, stomach, I hear you. For a lot of people, this is very counterintuitive. And so many of my clients start off and they roll their eyes. They see the discomfort, and I'm like, you are so brave. Just coming, and I'm a weirdo, just so you know, I'm the weirdest person ever, and so I love to just, be weird. And I expect that people are going to do that, and then I'm like, wait a minute, not everybody wants to be a weirdo and talk to their stomach, and talk to their images. But we eventually get there, right? Eventually people realize this is a really safe space. I can be anything, I can do anything, I can say anything. And in doing that, they allow the parts of them that have been hushed, pushed down, shamed, guilted away to come out and just begin to have a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone else mentioned legs, painful legs.
Right. And so thinking about asking the legs, hey legs, what do you need in this moment? So mine, the minute you said that, I just started massaging my thighs. And really just, when we experience difficulties in life, traumas, I don't want to assume that everyone has had some sort of trauma, but any sort of challenge in life. And if we haven't equipped ourselves with the tools to show up for ourselves and kind of be there and tend, a dissociation often starts to happen where we kind of get disembodied. We separate ourselves from our bodies because it's just easier. It's easier than feeling the pain. It's easier than being with the emotions that manifest from the pain. And so one of the best ways to start working on these issues is to start kind of planting the seeds of a relationship with your body. Sometimes for me, it's just about saying, hello, body. And I have a huge smile. I honestly get emotional when I say it. When I started my journey of starting to move at the beginning when my trauma healing, and I just kind of stopped moving because everything was a trigger, I would get up and just walk a few feet and I'd be like, thank you, legs. Thank you so much for just working with me, being here, taking me to the kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. Having these little conversations with ourselves that just deactivate a little bit. Yeah. And it could be just, sometimes it's too big, going to the legs. So even just something like pinching the fingertips to bring that nervous system down. You'd be surprised how any sensation in your body will travel to those legs if you have your legs in your consciousness. It doesn't necessarily have to go directly to the legs. It's like if you have a relationship with someone and there's a conflict, there's a rupture in the relationship, right? And you want to fix it, but you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to do that. So you let someone else know, like, I really do want to have a relationship, but I'm not sure how to approach it, or I'm not sure how to get there. Same thing with body parts, right? Parts that maybe we're not used to attuning with or tending to. That's a great question, by the way.
And then, sorry, someone else just said something about active triggers. So if this exercise starts bringing up active triggers, what do you suggest they do?
When people have active triggers and they don't currently have like a mental health practitioner that they're working with, that can be really tricky because they're going to need to have resourcing, right? Whether it's internal or external, i.e., the things that we can reach for inside of ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So it might be like a quick, I'm going to go start doing a breathing exercise. So one thing that I use a lot for active triggers is EFT tapping, right?
Okay.
And maybe we can share a link to something that's helpful on YouTube.
Yes.
But immediately tapping through the pressure points to try to start releasing a little bit of the emotion gently. But my advice to someone who's being actively triggered, especially if it's an ongoing thing, is to get help. Work with somebody who can help you strengthen the muscles, right? We're not going to just jump in one day and start being able to tend to ourselves without being resourced. And so the nice thing about working with a practitioner is that, you know, they're able to hold that space for you so that you actually barely need to show up. You need to be there, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't need to take care of yourself in that moment. You can actually let someone else hold you. And for people who've experienced trauma, especially if it's complex, and by complex I mean it wasn't a one-off trauma, like not a car accident, not an explosion somewhere, but rather like either childhood abuse, right? So developmental trauma, or ongoing, you know, trauma. So maybe an abusive relationship, for example, which is the majority of people I work with. Actually, I don't have any person that I work with or have ever worked with who's just had a single trauma, like PTSD. Right?
Okay.
Everyone I work with has complex PTSD. And so the lack of trust, being able to trust people, the lack of feeling safe, the first part of the therapeutic relationship is just showing up and being there together. I have clients who 6 weeks, 8 weeks go by, we've barely touched on a single actual trigger, because we're really just navigating around, can this person trust me enough to share some of their deepest, darkest secrets? Stuff that they have been shamed so much that they haven't shared it with a single soul. When that shift happens, when a client realizes I am safe, not only do they finally have one person on this earth that they can open up with and start to do the healing work, but they can come home to themselves and be in their bodies and not feel like the world is crashing down on them every single day. It's so important. Therapy is the relationship.
That's so reassuring, I think. I get a lot of clients who are like, well, we haven't really made any progress, have we? But it's just about establishing that safe place first, and that is the work in itself for a while.
And that's fascinating that you say that, because I looked over at my dish and the first word that popped up was hope. So I'm going to put that on there. I think it really is about establishing that hope, right? Because you know, right? Yeah. Going from hopelessness to being hopeful, it opens so many doors, those doors to possibility. And that's what this work is about. If this piece just didn't feel right the way it was, and that felt trapped, and it felt stuck, and had nowhere to go, and couldn't see any answers, there's the word answers. What if we tore it out and we ripped it? Right? What if we gave it hope and allowed it to just be as it is, come as you are, with your brokenness, with your fears, your anxieties, all of it. Like Rumi's poem, The Guest House, one of my favorite poems. Allow the emotions to sweep in, even if they come and then wipe your house clear of the furniture. Let it all in. Invite it in. And I think that that's what our job as therapists is to do, is to hold that space and allow for the storms, and then be there to witness and hold for when the storm settles and the sun comes out and there's that little bit of that very first bloom. It's pretty profound now. I'm getting emotional. I love this work so much.
It is.
I'm just fascinated by your image.
Started taking shape as we talked.
Tell me what it's been like. Just not to put you on the spot, but what's your process?
I thought it was fun spinning it around and seeing what it looked like, because suddenly there was some bumps or something in there, and it looked like a face to me, like looking at these dots. And then I had this, because of this quote that I was inspired by, and a lot of stuff. I have a lot of butterflies around me lately, so I grabbed this punch.
Okay.
And I am a little bit of a hoarder of different things. So I have some parts of envelopes, and I pulled in this pinky salmon color was sort of in this. I had cut out this coffee thing or torn it out the other day, and I flipped it over, and I liked how these purple lines kind of lined up with the lines of that circle. And I think it's hope that's bubbling out. And like I started with this hard pressure on my back, almost like it was wrapping around my rib cage. And then I saw the word back on this just a dictionary page, and so I was tearing some of those words out. And then as we talked, I think the person was talking about knots in her stomach. I saw this hard spun, and it had yarn under it. And then harmony was there, and it just keeps transforming. And then as you were talking, I saw these arms and holding, and I'm like, oh, maybe she's hoping that butterfly will land.
That's awesome.
And like, there's these other ideas, and then I had like hard stand, and I'm like, what am I taking a hard stand on that maybe I don't have to? And maybe there's more of an idea of harmony that can come out of all these piles and things welling up in me.
It's just so fascinating, right? It's so fascinating to hear about the journey that you've been on with your process, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that usually, not all the time, depending on time in my sessions, but I will offer a journal prompt and invite people to grab their journals. And, you know, a common one would be, you know, let's just say, for example, tension was yours, you know.
Yeah.
The prompt, and I'll give them kind of the gist of the prompt, but invite them to word it in a way that really lands for them, right? So, for example, if I didn't feel consumed by this tension, I would be. And then it's just a flow of consciousness. Don't think about it. Don't go. Just pour it out. And the stuff that comes out, the life that you feel in their description of what their life would be like. So if the person who mentioned that they have the pain in the legs or the knots in the stomach, right?
Yep.
Allowing yourself to imagine what your life would be without that. And I have something huge that I wanted to share. We didn't go there, but maybe we can do another live. It's a technique that I use with all of my clients. It's a shedding technique. And so it's a session in and of itself.
Yeah.
And maybe we get a volunteer who wants to come on and kind of have a freebie short session where they, you know, sign a disclaimer. But,
right?
You know,
Anybody
we kind of
want to raise their hand for that?
Pardon?
Anybody want to raise their hand right now?
Right. And so they get to experience it. And we go gentle. We're not going to go deep into any big traumas, but just something gentle to experience the shedding technique, because it is life-changing. It changed my life, and I have seen it shift every single one of my clients that I've used it with, and they use it weekly now as their own resource.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Maybe
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to introduce that to people.
Yeah, it's really it's something special. It's actually, I'll tell you, it's my husband's technique. He's a coach, and he developed this technique for his clients. But I took it and adapted it and brought it into expressive arts, and he's like, "Get your own technique.
Get your own."
I'm like, I'm sorry, baby, but it's all mine now. And this has been an absolute joy. I'm so glad that we found a way to make this work. I'm a human being before anything else, and full transparency to everyone. I was running away with my tail between my legs. I was so scared. I'd never been on a live in my life, and even though I do this work all day, every day, the idea of being in front of strangers on the internet, I was like, I don't know. But Jen was awesome, and she held my hand. So thank you for that, Jen.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad that it worked out. This is really fun, and I'll look forward to a follow-up to take it a little further. And for anybody, I will put links and stuff in a newsletter, and with some of the questions typed out and that you mentioned today. So if anybody wants to sign up for that newsletter, it's in my bio, or you can click on hopeandhealingathome.com, and I've got a little sign-up link.
That's awesome.
And we'll keep you guys posted on when the follow-up is, to learn about some of that shedding. So thank you for leading us in this. I hope everybody else was able to participate a little bit and get something out of it as well. It's always fun to learn a new process.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. It's lovely to have you. And it excites me to share this work with everybody who wants to hear about it, because I think it's special work.
It sure is.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.